Hey, happy tree friend.
Yay, happy tree friends.
Ooh.
Um, super smooth transition. Whew. What happened last time that I listened to and realized I was not as coherent as I am now. It was a rough one last time. I apologize for that. But what happened last
It was
time?
great. It
Yeah, I
was
thought you
fine.
did
Thanks, guys.
great.
I'm trying to pull out my notes.
If I remember correctly, we essentially we prepped to head out of the tender camp. So some of us got some new gear.
Yes. Apoc got a #1 fan cloak that he embroidered #1 fan on, or I Heart fans or something
Mhm.
silly like that.
Um,
No recollection, Sean?
I don't even have that written down.
I believe Stu
I don't remember.
got rid of her coat, but then Aurora got it back
Yep.
from Mrs. Q later on.
Yep. It's now Minnie and in her clutch.
Yes.
Elle made some friends. She's going to play kickball with them soon.
Yes.
We learned about the
So-
hot
so
spot and the rhythm
smooth.
of the grove.
Oh God.
You didn't hear but when you first talked about like the flare up, the hot flashes and hot spots
Oh,
in
geez.
the last session, Andrew leant over and was like, "It's like menopause." And then after that, all I could think of was
Yeah.
lining up so well with an explanation of menopause.
I had a hard.
Yeah, I literally had that as like a they might think this period and then just didn't change it in my notes.
There you go.
I was trying so hard not to laugh, not because of the delivery, Andrea, but it's so sexual. All of this is so sexual. The hotspot and conjuration magic and
Oh, geez.
to me, Astra's just like this lesbian leading us through the woods, and it's glorious. She is the only one who can find the spot.
All that's missing is Aurora and her like crystal.
Well,
Aaron gets it.
you didn't see that one coming, but great. I'm glad you enjoy. You make up whatever
wonderful.
adventure you want.
The fanfic writes itself.
Yeah.
It does. It really does.
In addition to all that, we got some gear from the tenders,
Yes,
right?
we did.
There's a very Galadriel type scene where
Yes, that's very cool. And then I believe we
decided to go to the cold spot first.
yes.
I wish you hadn't said that. Now it's all
I know. Now it's all I can think of.
And so we set out and we have the first night we were staying in Aurora's tent and Aurora and Mrs. Q do their like skincare routine, which was
Yes,
fun.
That's right.
And then Apoc asked Basil to keep him from sleepwalking. So Basil ties a rope to Apoc's
Right.
ankle and then around his waist. I can't see this going well. You're very
Yeah,
small.
I imagine because we know Apoc actually didn't sleepwalk, but if he did, he'd just be dragging Basil
Yes. I don't think you're heavy enough
along
to
the
be
tent.
useful.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Was it not silk rope as well?
I think it was silk, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot going on. I guess this is what happens when you hit the 50s for your episodes.
Yeah.
Just the natural progression or regression, whatever you feel like. Cool. A great summary.
Oh, but we also got the quest to kill whatever scared Trevor. And it had some sort of reptilian scales.
Yes. Yeah.
I think we all called dragon. I think that was
Uh-huh.
what we all
Kill
thought.
whatever scared Trevor.
Scared Trevor.
Yeah.
Scared
Did I
Trevor.
say killed Trevor?
I may have misheard. That's probably on me. Yeah.
Mm.
So that's a good place to pick up as you have been essentially given as much information between your time in Alderheart, your time at the Avium, from the dean as well of the Avium, who had reached out to Mrs. Q, asking for the Necronomicon ex Corvus back that lies in Aurora's possession.
Yes, and I
but
lied
putting
to
all-
cover for her.
Pardon?
I lied to cover for her.
Yes. But knowing there are a couple threads currently surrounding you, saved your one piece of orange for tonight.
4.5.
And gathering all the facts you can from all these different sources of information, you have finally made your way from the Tender Camp into the Scorched Grove
Mm.
for the very first time, at least. I don't think any of you have been here before. Astra leading the way, being the one who's most in tune with the rhythm of the forest itself, kind of the belief that all of Humblewood and all of the material plane kind of follows a excuse me, follows a Stephanie.
Can't help it. Cannot help it.
Everything in the material plane's in sync with one another.
Do we long rest before we left?
You
Yeah.
are about to long rest as well, as it
Okay.
is evening, and you're all kind of huddled in the tent. Astra taking you west for the very first, I guess the afternoon of the first day, trying to track this spot where the rhythm evens out, this cold spot, as she believes it to be. You're gonna have to move the mic to cover Steph.
No.
That's all I see.
I'll mute myself because if I start laughing out loud, I feel really bad.
No.
Don't mute yourself. You're good. You're good.
Is that good?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's fine. In the evening as well, Elle sending out some letters, just tossing them in the air, knowing that the Postal Service is going to take care of it in the middle of nowhere. But unless there's anything else you want to do tonight, while you're all huddled under the dome, I believe, created by Aurora, the air a little bit clearer here, not as heavy as when you are out and walking. You can all take a long rest if you need to. And you all wake up the next morning with sweet dreams from the night before. But morning does dawn on you, and you notice as you kind of start to roll and wake up, the sky above is still this kind of like, well, very reminiscent of anytime you've ever seen the sky in a forest fire, with smoke kind of just permeating around. The sun kind of this like very intense orange circle in the sky, as it's just sort of covered in a sheet of ever-present smoke here in the Scorched Grove. The landscape around you is barren as before, like crumbling embers and charcoal under your feet, remnants of trees long since burned that just refuse to fall at the very at this point in time, and as flat as the eye can see, as flat as the eye can see. Although you notice that you can't see far. It's not like being in the savannah where everything is crisp and clear. It's very much a ever-present haze in the Scorched Grove. If there's anything you'd like to do this morning, please interrupt, but I will need an adventure roll for the day.
Astra.
Yes.
How good are you at finding the spot? Like, is it gonna be an hour, 2 hours? I'm just wondering if I should pace my slots. Oh, my abilities. I could keep us quiet while we go there. Is that something you worry about? Should we worry about noise going to the spot?
I mean, there are many creatures out in the grove. Some we've been able to identify and some we don't. I mean, if we can move quietly, that's of a benefit. But I'm not sure how far away it is.
I can try and keep it up, but I'm not sure if I can last more than 3 hours.
I mean, we can always see how the morning goes, and if the afternoon requires that, we certainly can give it a try.
Okay, I'll hold off for now, but you give me the word. I'll be ready.
Sounds good.
Mrs. Q would make some breakfast.
What you making, Mrs. Q? What's breakfast today? Give me some
Crumpets. Today is crumpets. But she also, while she's like prepping breakfast and people are eating it, she uses her like chef ability to make some treats that she can give people later in the event that they need temporary hit points. So she pockets some they can be scones. She makes
Perfect.
scones.
Sounds good.
She also invokes the amaranthine to prepare for the day.
Yep, sounds good. Also, don't forget, for those of you who can, you can change your spells at the start of each day, just as a reminder.
Yeah.
I had a note that said I was going to
Just-
remind you, Georgina.
I
And
think
I
it's
totally forgot to do
Georgina,
that.
and well, I guess sorry, Mrs. Q and Elle can do that.
Yeah, I always forget.
It's okay. It's tough. No worries.
I think while Mrs. Q is making crumpets, I got some time. I'm gonna just do my makeup for the day. I think with the theme, I'm gonna go with a smoky eye. I think that's the
Okay.
That is
Classic.
good.
Natural.
yeah. And then I'll use some like minor illusion to just make my dress look like it's on fire, but it's not. Kind of like a Katniss thing going.
Yeah,
Ah.
cool.
Like it. Like
Do
it.
do a twirl for us.
I can't resist not twirling, so
Oh my god. Right. Elle, Basil, if there's anything you'd like to do,
Don't think so.
or I am gonna need an adventure roll from someone. A D8.
I think the only thing Elle does is pulls her Master Wawa's ring out and actually starts. She's gonna put it on the chain around her neck because she doesn't have fingers.
Pardon me, you're gonna put it.
She's gonna put it on a chain around her neck because I don't think Elle has fingers to wear a ring.
You could wear her ring. You have little talons. You've seen Master
I don't
Wayra.
know.
You've seen
Okay,
Master
then she's
Waywa.
gonna.
You've seen your grandma wear the ring before. I can't say her name.
Yeah, she's gonna start wearing her ring.
No, I don't want to. Thank you, love.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Over the time that you are wearing Master Waywa's, you are wearing your grandmother's ring. I'm sorry, Steph, I can't say the name today.
That's okay.
And you're kind of looking at it, switching the talon, kind of looking at it, switching the talon that it's on, for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. You keep kind of playing with it as you're having breakfast and waking up and getting your pack together. And during this time, your hand suddenly just starts to feel a little bit warmer, and it kind of extends all the way up your arm. And at the end of the hour, you kind of feel a little bit like your back is a bit straighter, either intentionally or unintentionally. And you can add a ring of protection to your inventory.
Right.
All right. So at the end of the hour waking up, 2 hours waking up, getting yourselves together, Astra's starting to just kind of sit and meditate. You see her close her eyes for a little bit. Who wants to roll our D8 for today? I believe it was Elle yesterday.
I'll give it a go. I haven't done an adventure roll in a while.
Sounds good.
It's a 1.
1.
Classic 1.
I mean, you never know for adventure.
Not only was it a 1, I also missed my dice tray.
The D8 just did not like you.
No.
It's that smoky eye. It's hard to see.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Just I never could get the mascara right. It's always uneven, and then you gotta like go back and try and even it out.
And
And
you
it
know,
just,
you don't even need it.
just a hot mess. Stop.
You actually hear Aster kind of like laugh a little bit at this as you see that she's kind of shaken herself out of her meditation and just Right. If we're ready to go, it seems like it's moved a bit farther north, so we'll just start making our way there. And she kind of heaves the pack onto her back, and begins just walking, not really looking if you're ready or following, but just trusting that you will as she starts her day, starts her way north. Stop me if there's anything you'd like to do today. But as you are walking and moving, every so often, kind of just wiping any soot or any kind of smoke off of your feathers or out of your fur, just kind of kicking some embers around, looking at the landscape, and nothing really changes as you move through the day. And as the morning turns into the afternoon, turning into the evening, you don't encounter anything. You don't see anything. Nothing seems off. It's a very quiet travel day. And as evening starts to kind of wind down, Astra picking a place for the evening, to allow you all to set up the dome once more and give you some time to rest. You realize as you sort of look up at the sky, the stars not visible. The only moonlight that can come through is very, very faint, just like a hooded lantern in the sky, and that's about all you have. So the landscape around you is quite dark, except for any campfire you have in or just outside of the dome. But similar to the night before, you are able to safely get a rest inside the dome. Nothing happens on your watches. It was a good travel day for rolling a 1. Next morning, going through your routines, having some breakfast, getting yourselves all set to go.
Mrs. Q, what's the menu today, Mrs. Q? Because like I love the crumpets, don't get me wrong, but like I could use something different.
What do you fancy?
Well, you're the master chef. It'd be imposing for me to pick something.
I mean, I am partial to baked goods, which is why most of my food is baked goods. But I could do Cornish pasties.
Ooh.
You need to explain what they are because some people seem confused.
Everyone know what that is. Oh,
No.
okay.
You guys see Steph's face. It's just like
It's like like imagine a pie, but like a personal one that you can
it's
hold.
like a big pizza pocket. So
Yeah, but with like veg
Okay.
like stuff in it.
like a calzone, but just something.
But British.
Yeah. Like a calzone that you could
Yeah.
hold, like those Jamaican people.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but much bigger. And
Okay, gotcha.
Calzones that can be pretty big.
Okay, but the legend has it that when you're eating it, you don't eat the crust part that you hold, you feed it to the fairies. If you were a miner, which you
And
probably
what are fairies? Like fairies?
Like the elves in Iceland.
Yeah, the fairies that live in the mines.
So,
What makes it Cornish?
Cornish?
From Cornwall.
Okay.
It's a very British thing.
Are
Cornish.
you satisfied with that
I
answer?
guess. Yeah.
Is it Cornish pasties or Cornish pasties?
I had a feeling that would come up. It's a pasty. It's a food. It's not something that you stick.
You risked it.
We're just all in a good mindset tonight.
There you
Yeah. I forgot to mention this
I guess
yesterday,
asked
but
and answered.
as Apoc wakes up today, just kind of looking out into the smoke and the distance, feeling that it's a little too quiet, and tries to like focus in on the sound and the noise that's being made, and really just channel the scorched earth and try to use primeval awareness.
You don't even have your character sheet up.
It's right here.
Oh, it's on your phone.
Yeah, it's my phone.
Okay. What's primeval awareness again?
Detect, so like within a mile of us.
Okay.
Aberrations, celestials, dragons, elementals, phase fiends, or undead. So I know undead I've got a lot of sense of already. I think traveling with our group, is that still true? I know it was Maitland before,
Don't think you have Maitland anymore. You
Yeah.
haven't brought him
No.
back
Yeah.
yet.
so don't sense the undead anymore.
So undead, aberrations, dragons, phase fiends,
Yeah, celestials
celestials,
and elementals.
and elementals.
Mhm.
You don't know how many or
Where,
how far.
but
Okay.
I-
You
but I
just
know
know the
what.
presence of.
Yeah, presence of
Okay.
what they are.
Based on what you know of the grove itself and channeling into every time you kind of channel into what's around you,
Mhm.
focusing in on where you are and what you know of it, you get pings of elemental,
Mm.
knowing that the grove is essentially a leak of the fire plane coming through. You don't know where, you don't know how many, but as you channel in this kind of very like raw magic, this very beginning of the world kind of magic, you sense that even though your connection is normally short outside of the mountain to sense things like this, it's almost like you are able to detect a little bit farther than normal in this kind of just this very primitive place. You don't know how far, but it feels like almost feels like you're connected to the whole thing, if you had to guess.
Apoc's just gonna look to the group and be like, we can do this.
That's up there with be aware.
Yeah.
Anything
Okay.
else on the morning of? Oh, Mrs. Q.
Nope, just trying to get us moving.
Okay.
I feel like
Astra as
everyone's
well, getting herself set once more. The next one on our screen here for an adventure roll would be Andrew, or Sir Basil, sorry.
It's a D8,
A D8.
Let's go.
a 6,
Ooh,
A 6.
ooh,
Okay.
it's a good number. It's up there.
I've got a little bit going on here. I'm actually kind of
Oh.
keeping track of where you are and where it's moving.
Oh.
Ooh, okay,
So
yeah.
you'll have to be patient every time you roll an adventure roll for me here.
Can we get the final drawing of like where we go?
I'm moving sticky notes.
That'd be cool. Like, no.
It spells out a word.
Yeah.
The secret
Master
message.
puzzle.
It's just a giant vagina.
I feel like I have to be so careful with what I say here. Saying the word like raw was really hard. All right. So as you begin your day, it seems that today is a little bit more on the overcast side, like almost completely opaque above. It seems like the light from the sun is almost just around you, if that makes sense. Like it's filtered through a layer of smoke above you, and you can't actually see it as much as it's just kind of dispersing around you. It's giving this kind of very odd, almost like a grayscale at this point. And you kind of see Astra taking note of where you are, closing her eyes once more to get a sense of the land and connect back with the rhythm itself before she stands up and begins walking, this time walking east. As you are kind of moving through, Astra keeping an eye, every so often she kind of goes to Apoc and either, for the most part, gives you a thumbs up or lets you know that there's nothing really around at this point. Until 2-3 hours in, approaching the late morning, she kind of stops in her tracks and just kind of looks, focuses, and if you think she is very mourning dove-esque, if you think of pigeons kind of moving their head where it's a very quick kind of jerky movement, you see her kind of almost like twitching a little bit, trying to focus on something that is appearing to confuse her, before she quietly speaks to all of you. There's something here, but it's not moving. I don't think it's a creature, but there is something. It's maybe 30, 40, 50 feet ahead. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't belong here. So just, I guess, be wary as we move forward. It's right in our path.
See anything?
You can all make a perception check.
No.
It's a bit of a hard check. If anyone rolls 17 or higher.
I rolled 17.
Okay.
21.
Elle and Mrs. Q. Excuse me. Elle, as Astra is mentioning this, you kind of look in that direction and really try to focus a little bit more, kind of reminiscing on the meditation session. Although it was difficult, the meditation session you had with Astra and you had previously in your training back home. Mrs. Q kind of adjusting your glasses, your little spectacles a little bit to kind of look through the fog. It takes a second to really kind of understand or comprehend what it is you are seeing. But the best thing that you can describe, about 40 feet away, very obscured by the smoke until you do see movement, rippling. And the best thing that you can describe it as is like waves on a lake in the wind. You don't feel any wind, but you swear that's what it looks like. It's fluid. It looks very dark. Even with the 21, Mrs. Q, it looks to be almost black, like hints of purple, as the wave seems to almost like crest and fall. But it looks like water in this place.
You guys see that?
I don't see anything.
Oh,
See what? What is it?
like this weird like mass in front of us. It's kind of dark and looks like it's kind of moving, but like wavy like water, but that seems unlikely because it's hot here.
Not
Lava?
Huh?
Lava!
Lava? I don't know. It doesn't look orange. Isn't lava orange?
As Mrs. Q points it out and Elle points it out, you are able to make out what they see now with their guidance. This kind of like rippling waves.
Does it look like lava?
It does not look like that.
Okay.
Do you think
Does it look like a mirage, like like that haziness to it?
With you rolled a 19, right?
17 all in.
17 all in. It kind of looks like that to you, except for the fact that it seems very rhythmic, the waves. Steph. Every time. It's in the book. It seems very, very even, very constant. Not like something that if you blink or you rub your eyes and try and figure out if it's real or not, it doesn't seem to be changing or altering itself. Aurora, did you have something?
Oh, I'm gonna actually piggyback back off that. Is there any patterns that we can discern, or like as I'm like looking at it, do I pick up on any rhythms or beats, thrumming?
I would say make an insight check for this.
Drumming, pulsating.
Behave
Jeez,
yourself.
Andrew.
Guys, I will kill you all.
Andrew,
Andrew, how could you?
get in line
This is
here.
a serious adventure.
Chuckleheads.
Insight, that's an 18.
Ooh,
That's an
rhythms.
18. As you are looking at it, noticing the waves, for you,
Like, I'm not
It's
picking up
almost-
like the beat of like closing time or anything.
yeah. Nothing musical, but for you, you definitely almost get the sense of an ebb and flow. You kind of almost feel it through the ground and through your feet as you are looking at this thing. Even though nothing is moving, you almost feel like water constantly dripping out of a tap. That's what you would equate it to, the rhythm of it. Constant, same tempo, same ebb and flow. And it's almost like a vibration that you kind of feel through your feet.
Guys, it's rhythmic like the tides. Do you think it's safe to get closer? Elle, Mrs. Q, you guys probably see it better than we do.
It doesn't look like it's moving, so I think if we move closer, it's not going to move towards us. So maybe we could get a bit closer.
Best to approach cautiously then.
Astra, what do you think?
You're all very capable. I'm here more as a guide to assist as well. I mean, I'm up to exploring absolutely anything in this grove. We know virtually nothing after centuries of studying it. I would love to move closer, but I would also love to continue on. This is your choice.
Let's see.
Can we get to the edge of it?
You're setting her up.
No, I'm asking. Can we get to the edge?
Do you move forward?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was,
If as long as everybody else wants to move forward.
Yeah.
I say we
Descent is important.
like very cautiously.
So as you creep your way forward as a group, cautiously approaching the image, this wave that you see, Mrs. Q's assumption was right. As you approach, it doesn't seem to be approaching you. It seems to be stationary. And as you close the distance to 20 feet until you're like right up against it, what you see is this very vast looking lake, body of water that appears to be in the middle of this patch of grove. It is black, almost like a mirror. And the rhythm that Aurora you felt has only gotten stronger as you've approached this lake. And with every drop that happens, it's like a drop, a ripple, and stillness. A drop, a ripple, and stillness. And as the lake turns into that mirror-like stillness, the more you focus on it, the more you swear as you look through it, you see like clouds of purple, deep blues, grays, blacks. And almost like if you think of like a galaxy swirling kind of like smoke as you look through it. Elle and Basil, you have seen this lake.
I was gonna say, this reminds me of the paintings, right?
Elle immediately
Pepper
turns to
routine.
Basil, and I have a feeling like it's like we turn to each other at the same time.
Yeah. We have the paintings, right? We cut them.
You did not cut this one. This was in
Okay.
Nari's shop. Maudie's shop, I forget her name. Aurora's
Okay.
cousin's shop in Bracken Mill. This was the first of Peppermint's paintings you
It
saw.
was like the one with the trees, and we saw like was it like Sir Basil's sword or something in it? Or
A signature that you know to be Pip's, a sword with 2 rings interlocked.
Ooh,
This is the one I tried to pull us through, remember?
I do. But what does this mean? Do we go in the water?
Yes.
Do we see like rocks or things on the ground?
As you look around, you do not. It looks like it looks like it is not natural to this place. There doesn't seem to be a bank. It should be spreading, is what it looks like it should be doing, but it is staying in a perfect circle.
Could I throw like a silver in just to see if anything happens to
Or
it? Like,
or shoot an arrow into it?
I'm fine with
Mrs.
throwing
Q,
silver.
throw in a scone.
No!
Kidding.
I throw a piece of silver.
You throw in a piece of silver, and as you toss it,
Mhm.
it breaks the like mirror stillness.
Oh, okay.
You see the ripples come out and stills very quickly. And you see the silver just kind of float under the water, farther and farther away. And the longer you watch, the smaller the piece of silver gets, as
Okay.
it seems to just continuously
That's
float
pretty deep.
on and on.
Well, it's floating out, right? Like
It's floating.
Down?
It's kind of weird. It's floating into
okay.
the clouds. You don't know if it's necessarily down,
Mhm.
but it's not like it's floating on top.
Okay.
Anyone trained in Arcana, religion, or history can roll a check for me.
A
Arcana religion?
Or history.
Okay. 21.
nice roll.
22 in Arcana.
Ooh.
Amazing.
13.
13,
16 religion.
16. Okay. Ellen, Mrs. Q. The first ones to see it. It was a high check. The first ones to see it, the more, particularly with this piece of silver, as you see it kind of drift, you realize the right word is drift. It kind of pings in your mind. You're looking at some sort of rift to the astral sea, a different plane of existence that has crossed over into yours.
Dang.
Mm.
What would we know about these sorts of rifts?
About the rifts in general. Everything you've read at the Avium has suggested that the elemental planes have a connection to the material plane, to Humblewood itself. It's the foundation of the land that you're living on. You didn't really focus on the other planes. Apoc focusing a little bit on the hells, I think. But you didn't quite focus on any connection of your plane to other planes. With a 21 and a 22, it kind of stands that if the elemental planes can make a presence in Humblewood, maybe the other planes can as well. But you wouldn't know much more than that.
So we would know that this is a point where the astral plane, which is different from the elemental plane, is like it's like a meeting point of the two, like our plane and the astral
Point of
plane.
convergence.
A place where the planes seem to cross over.
Mhm.
For how long? You're not sure. Could have been here for forever. Could only be here for 5 minutes.
So Basil's going to look to the group. And he's gonna say, I don't know what this is, but that reflection, do you see it? That's Pip's painting. What are we gonna do? Do we investigate? Is it safe?
Well, what else? What else was in Pip's painting?
There were the clouds, there was trees. Everything seemed an off color.
Well, this water is an off color. Do we see clouds?
I assume yes, we did, right? Yeah.
It's overcast.
You see like in the water, right? Is what you see like these purple, like deep purple, these blues, very dark, these grays, these blacks that all kind of like swirl, very like nebula-esque
Can
and just noise.
can I I think what I'll do is I'll probably like reach through my bag and I'll grab like a magic wand and try and cast shape water to move the water around.
Hmm.
As you do so,
Like
and you try
like
to
a dowsing
cast it.
stick.
That's cool. I like that. As you do so, trying to like form it, it doesn't respond.
Hmm.
It stays in this perfect circle.
I'm guessing whatever kind of water it is, it's not from this world. It's that the other plane crossing over. Maybe. I have no idea. What do you guys think?
So Basil's gonna say, I don't know if it has anything to do with our current quests, but if this is something to do with Pip, I don't know if I can walk away from this. I have to look into it.
Astra, do you have any thoughts? Have you come across this before?
As you turn to Astra, you kind of actually see that she seems to be like writing down everything that has been said as she also kind of realizes what is going on here. And as she like kind of rolls up her scroll and tucks it into her robe, she just sort of rubs her cheeks. We are very well aware that planes cross over and they can make appearances in our world. I haven't seen the astral plane before. The astral plane is very dangerous. It's where souls go after you pass in this world, or so the legend says. It's the dominion of the Amaranthine, of death and the afterlife. I hope you're not thinking of going in, Basil.
We were actually thinking.
If this has something to do with my sister Pip, I owe it to my family to do something.
Didn't she paint other paintings?
She did, but they were all similar like this, strange colors and strange images.
Are they all this color?
Were they? I can't remember.
So Pip's paintings seemed did you ever see the show Arcane?
Yeah.
Okay, you know how the lights were light and the darks were dark, like to the extreme kind of contrast?
Yeah.
That's what it was. The colors are so vivid and the shadows are so deep that it makes it look otherworldly. That's her style of painting. What you see here, although very reminiscent of Pip's painting, she definitely took artistic liberties in painting what she did, but there's no mistaking what this is. As you are debating this, Basil, you do also remember your conversation with Nadi, her name was, Nadi, Aurora's cousin in Bracken Mill, who talked with Pip and Time and mentioned, as best of to her memory, that they were chasing the planes here. Something about following them.
Okay. I gotta do it.
You serious? You're gonna go in there?
Can you breathe in water? You got like a secret trick to like? We don't know how deep and it's not even water. Like I can't
I was
shape
gonna
it.
say,
Or
is it-
we don't even know if what if as soon as I jump in,
Well,
I'm in
Can
this other
can we
plane.
move forward and just like interact with it, touch it? Like, is it flat on the ground or is it floating like in front of us?
It looks to be flat to the ground. Like you walk right up to it and your toes are level with it. Like there is no embankment to this.
all right, whoever's going in, make sure you have the silk.
Sir Basil's probably just like having like in the same wavelength is probably already trying to tie a rope around his waist. And I guess he'll toss it to you, Apoc, and be like, I have to look into this. If this brings me closer to finding Pip or time, I owe this to you.
Well,
if
I mean,
you
if you go in there, 71 tugs for danger, 72 tugs if you're okay.
And here's a scone.
Basil just
71. Why?
Just for the record, it does actually give you temporary hit points.
Yeah, okay.
Eric knows why.
Or maybe what he'll do is he'll like take a bite of it and like hold it in his mouth, and then he'll just like, and because Germans can jump really high, he's gonna jump up and like swan dive.
before you dive in,
Yeah.
if you want to just give me a second, I can try and see down there, at least see how far down it goes. And if you'll just give me like a couple minutes to cast the spell, I'd like to cast clairvoyance into the pit as deep as I can possibly go. I've got dark vision down to 180 feet. I don't know if that's a good measure or if I can see deeper. It's an obvious location that is unfamiliar to me. So, such as like behind a closed door, around a corner, or a growing tree. I would say this is similar, where I'm just as deep into this thing as I can. I like to place my sensor and just see what I see.
Temporary hit points equal to my
Okay. And it's sight, it's not sound, right? It's one or the other, if I remember
Correct.
correctly. Okay. All right. So as your eyes kind of glaze over, and you send your sight with clairvoyance into the astral sea, you feel like you blink and open your eyes, and as you do, what you see around you, kind of slowly looking up, or what you think to be up, slowly looking down, or what you think to be down. All around you, you see these twists, these clouds, these smoke-like purples and blues and grays just floating and just existing around you. You have no sense of where you are, how far your vision has taken you, and you see nothing except for those clouds.
Basil, if you're going in, it looks like it's going to be a bit of a journey. Like I can only kind of see up to a mile. I don't know how far I went, but there is nothing there. So if you're looking for something, my guess is you're going beyond that. So this rope's not going to get you that far.
Are you for real right now?
Well,
Is this like a reapy cheap moment?
I don't know anymore.
Doing Basil.
You go in, we can't bring you back.
Basil, if this is important to you, I'm sure we would go with you.
But also, if Pip painted the paintings, it means that she's got to have come back from this, right? So it doesn't mean that she's definitely in there.
What would the group like me to do?
No, that's not how this works.
I'm
Is
here
there-
to pull
is-
you out. If you want to go, I'll hold the rope. One of us has to stay.
Are there any kinds of trees or something that is rooted to the ground that we could potentially tie a rope around?
You do see like these very burnt charcoal trees. At this point, they are just a trunk and a scraggly branch or two completely blackened. There's one about 20 feet away. As you go to kind of tie the rope around, as soon as your hand kind of touches it, it seems to kind of cave in. It is long burnt and long dead. What are we doing, guys?
I feel like Sir Basil would do it.
Ugh.
Cool.
So, rope tied on, Apoc holding at one end. As you make your decision, Basil, you see Astor kind of grab onto your shoulder. And you feel this sort of warmth kind of spread into your shoulder as she gives you a little bit of resistance to whatever you might have to face in there. And just goes to stand beside Apoc, sort of. You see she has like a feather in one hand, kind of at the ready for if she needs to intervene with anything.
And I'm wrapping this around so it can't slip out of my hand. Like if it pulls him, it's pulling Apoc.
Okay. And Sir Basil dives in.
Yep. Maybe he gives Apoc like a salute and kind of a nod of like, I'm ready, and then jumps in.
Epoch, don't let go, and I cast Bardic Inspiration on you.
Right. As you dive in, Basil, it feels like you're diving into water. There's a sensation of cool that kind of hits your face and your hands, any exposed part of you that's not kind of wrapped in armor or your cloak. But as you dive in, instead of feeling the weight of water around you, kind of instinctually holding your breath and closing your eyes as you do so before you kind of peek open and just sort of realize that you are weightless and just kind of floating. The rest of you, like the silver coin, you kind of see Basil just start to float and just start to float a little bit farther and farther away. Still, there's a lot of slack on the rope. But you do see as Basil just kind of, for a stunned second, as you gather your bearings, you are weightless, you can breathe, you can see, and there is absolutely nothing before you except for galaxy. These twisting kind of nebulous clouds that just sort of mesh with each other, these purples, these blues, that start to get a little more vivid as you have kind of entered the space itself. What are you doing?
So there's nothing like pulling me or anything. I'm just literally floating.
For right now, the only kind of resistance you feel is every so often the rope kind of tugging at your waist as you just start to float away, but there is nothing pulling you anywhere.
Okay. And they can still technically sort of see me in this mirror reflection.
They can still see you gently drifting. So to them, you are getting
Like deeper.
smaller. Your image is not distorted. You are just getting smaller as you drift farther away.
Ooh, tiny Basil.
Okay. I think Sir Basil will probably yell out, "Hello! Is anyone there?" See if he gets a response.
We're up here.
What? Well, all you hear is
Yeah, can we hear each other?
Hear nothing. And Basil, as you shout out, there is just empty space around you. There's no kind of echo. Your voice just gets absorbed by the space.
Guys, I don't know if he can hear us. We can't hear. Like, I'm starting to worry about him. Is he tugging? Is he at 70 tugs yet, or?
Have I felt any tugs?
No, Sir Basil's just like chilling, just looking around, still yelling, trying to like see anything.
I like to. I pull out like from my clutch. You see like a little. I think it's a little piece of wire. Yeah, a little piece of copper wire, and I cast sending. Basil, you okay?
Do I
You
hear?
do not hear her. As you are drifting, Basil, you know that the portal, the rift is behind you, but as you are drifting, the longer you kind of stay drifting, you start to kind of lose if you're up or down. You don't know if you've started to spin. You don't know how far you've gotten. You just kind of, the weightlessness almost makes your stomach kind of clench and heave a little bit as you are very quickly losing your bearings in the space.
But I would still know the rope is going in a certain direction, right?
You like tug and you can see the rope as you look down. You know that it's still there.
I got one tug, guys.
As you kind of, look over your shoulder to see where the rope is, you do see kind of like, it's very disorienting. It is this like elliptical disc in space. There is no top, there is no bottom, there's no column, there's no cylinder. It just looks to be a flat disc, like a very thin,
Okay.
the size of paper,
Hmm.
the width of a paper, for example. It just is in this space. And behind it, you see more and more of those clouds, and the expanse of the astral plane kind of hits you. You see nothing except for those clouds.
And still calling out. There's no response. There's like nothing that stirs or
No.
can I do anything? Maybe at that point he'll just say to himself like, Pip, what the heck did you get yourself into? And he'll just like feeling like there's clearly nothing here. He's gonna try and like turn himself around and just start tugging on the rope. And yeah, see if can pull him up.
All right.
Or maybe he'll like start like pulling himself along the rope too, if that helps.
Mhm.
Yeah, so as you start to kind of turn and reach, as soon as you start to think to turn and reach, you actually feel your body kind of moving just with the thought of turning. And you grab onto the rope and you start kind of pulling yourself back. Apoc, you feel the tugging on the rope. Are you actually going to count to 70, 71?
So you said like with thought, I
Mhm.
oriented myself.
It seemed like it. It seemed like as you made the connection to think about and turn to grab onto the rope, your body kind of moved without you doing so.
What would
Where
happen
once you were
if,
adrift, it seemed like you had a little bit of control for a moment.
what would happen if Basil started thinking of like ground, or started thinking of like Pip's painting, like a scene of standing. I think what was it? Like the painting was like standing by a lake around like, with trees. Like so he's thinking about like standing on solid ground. Does that do anything?
I love that. You think about standing on solid ground and you feel as your body stops that kind of rotation and just starts to drift once more. Your hand on the rope, having turned to grab it. But you kind of open your eyes up again and you're in the same place.
Okay. He'll just continue to pull himself up.
By the time you get to 30 tons, you see Basil resurface and poke his head back out of the disc on the ground from the astral plane.
So just pulling himself out.
There, take my hand.
He just like lifts me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Coming out of it on this side, am I like, do my like clothes seem like soaked, or am I just completely dry?
You're completely dry. You
Okay.
didn't pass through water.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Basil will say to the group, there's nothing there. It's just this empty space, as if I was just floating for forever. I called out and there's nothing. What is this plane? Is it? I would assume I would have seen something. Asking because he has no idea about what the astral plane should be or what would be there.
It's at this point, Astra kind of pipes up just a little bit, and based on what I know of the astral plane, it's infinite. It's endless. There are things there, but it's massive. This particular rift, this link, likely just didn't lead to where the things are. If that's what it was.
If someone were in the astral plane, could they find these things? Are there spells or things that one can do to locate people, creatures, items?
Spells that I know of usually have a limit of a distance. They can't encompass an entire plane of existence. We can't even encompass the entire material plane, and that is finite.
Hmm.
How do you know it's finite?
It's what our scholars have written before. It might not be. It's just what I know.
Basil, did you get my message?
Message?
Yeah, I sent a message to you.
No, I didn't. What did you say?
Oh, just if you were okay, and that my sending spell always works, unless the creature is really dumb, or you're on there's like a chance that it doesn't work if you're on a different plane. So I'm thinking you crossed over. There's a 5% chance you crossed over, or 95% chance you're just dumb. But I like to play those. I like to play those odds that you're not dumb.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I crossed to a different plane.
Foolhardy maybe, but not dumb.
Thanks, Aurora.
Forgot the 5% chance, I'm sorry.
Sebastian will turn to the rest of the group and just say, I'm sorry for derailing our quest, but I had to make sure.
I don't think it was a derail. We felt the need to try something. Astra probably got some interesting data to take back to the tenders.
Absolutely.
We found a new
And your
thing.
skin has this healthy glow.
Question. This is out of character. Would Aurora know anything about the astral plane? I don't know how the astral plane works compared to other universes.
That's a good question. I think in Aurora's particular field of interest, you would know that the astral plane is where all living souls end up when they pass on, and they are ferried on. And by practicing necromancy, you tend to kind of disrupt that and pull them back to this plane. And it is only the existence of the astral plane that allows you to do so. But I don't think Aurora would know much more than that at this point.
Okay. Just like, okay.
Is there something you think she would know?
No, I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay. Elle, did you have something?
Yeah. She wants to ask her Basil. So did you see anybody or anything, any like floaty stuff or anything while you were in there?
No. Uh, I I was calling out. I was uh, shouting at the top of my lungs, but nothing. Just silence. And he'll describe the feeling of just floating there in like just this vast void of just nothing.
So you were able to go in and then come out. I wonder if other things from in were able to come out.
You know, that would make sense.
Like astral beings?
Yeah, maybe something that's making the scorched grove so scorchy.
If something could survive in there, like how I just went in, I could breathe, I could talk. If something were living in there, it could definitely come out.
Hmm.
Astra kind of pipes up at this point as well. Like, we know that this land used to be home to elemental beings. That's a certainty. We have those stories that have been passed down through generations, and I think you're absolutely right.
You know, there's still elementals here, right?
Certainly, it's a
Yeah.
lot less frequent than it was, but it absolutely can happen
I'm sensing them everywhere.
in a place like this, certainly. Do you feel ready to move on, Basil, or is there something you needed to do here?
Sir Basil would just untie the rope, maybe start like wrapping it up, and like thinking of Pip, and just feeling like could have been so close. He'll just shake his head and say, "No, I think it's best we moved on. Perhaps we should uh, mark down this place, map it, so we know we found this here. But as far as investigating further, I don't know if there's much we can do, much we can get from it."
Hmm.
I mean, I've got as much recorded as I can. If it's still here, we can likely find it again.
Has anyone ever tried to take some of the liquid with them?
Are you asking Astra or just in general?
I guess Astra. If of the information she knows about these rifts between planes, if
Yeah.
anyone has
It-
tried
it
to.
looks like water, but it's not water.
I know,
That's the
but
thing.
if you could
Take a
take
piece
a
of
piece-
a rift.
could you put a rift
Portal on demand.
Yeah, no, for real. Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Only one way to find out.
There's only one way to find out, but the rifts tend to be reminiscent of the plane that has caused it. So the astral plane is very much a space of dreams, a space of things that aren't necessarily real or material. I imagine if you tried to take this, it's not a material that can be taken. Certainly, if it was something like the water plane, you could collect water from the rift. Doesn't necessarily mean you can open your own, but I've never tried.
Do I try?
Do you try?
Would Mrs. Q try?
Do you have anything that could even?
I mean, I have a cup.
So you're just gonna try scooping it?
She's just thinking about the possibility of if we need to, beat something, send them into the astral plane.
Well, that's actually pretty smart.
Well, Miss Q pulls out a tin mug and she just tries to scoop a little bit out.
As you go and you try to scoop it, you see the tin pass through, But as you pull the cup back out, nothing in the cup. It feels a little bit colder on the side that had passed into the astral plane. But it doesn't look to be something you can scoop.
Mhm.
Mm. Well, I guess I will just have a cup touched by the astral plane now.
Put that in your inventory.
Sure.
Like a frosted mug from A&W. It's just cold.
Yeah.
So maybe you put something in it.
Yes.
That's good.
Perhaps it's best to move on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. As you all
As
prepare
we-
to move back. Oh, go ahead.
As we start walking and moving, Elle's gonna kind of like fall in step with Basil and just say, "I'm sorry we didn't find Pip. I know you got real excited that we might find her."
Mhm. I know in my heart, I know one day I will find her. I wish it was a lot sooner. I can't tell you just how long it's been. I don't even know what she looks like now. All I have are the stories that Cam used to tell me, that my parents told me. I owe it to them, and I owe it to her for being a terrible big brother to find her. He's gonna just kind of feel like it's like very
Well,
beside himself.
if there's anything I've learned from hanging around with you, when you want to make something right, you always do.
Very nice. Gonna kind of pick up a little bit and just thanks, Al. That means a lot.
And maybe when I send out my letters tonight, I could send one to Pip. Maybe she'll get it.
You know what? I'd appreciate that. Tell her that her big brother is coming to get her.
Okay. I'll send her a picture of all of us on an adventure to find her.
Sounds good.
So great.
And he'll maybe now walk just like a little smirk on his face and just really thankful for what Elle said.
I love that.
I want to, if they're walking up, I'm gonna kind of like wait back by the rift as everybody leaves. I'll almost do like the little walk, like I'm waiting for people to go so I can go tinkle. And then once they're like a little out of like eyesight, not too far, like I'll catch up. I'll catch up with you guys. I'm gonna go into my bag and pull out the bones that I had for Maitland,
Ooh.
and I'm gonna cast Speak with Dead using my little quartz thing. And I know you guys aren't necessarily my brother, but maybe I can send you and try and find him. If you ever see him, just let him know I tried. And I push the bones into the rift, pick up my bone or my bag and my book, and I catch up with the group.
Woo!
But
No.
though you could take an inspiration for that. That's so sad.
Such tender moments. I love it.
I know. On that, I think we'll take a quick break and come